Hello and welcome to the Ascension and New World Wealth Summit. Our special guest today is Kelly Boyer. Kelly is an esteemed dimensional wellness mastery coach, renowned for blending intuitive insight with advanced holistic and spiritual modalities to catalyze profound transformations. She specializes in activating and recalibrating DNA sequencing. She utilizes quantum human design, quantum energy healing, the Enneagram, psychology, and metaphysics. As a futurist and global speaker, Kelly shares intuitive insights that inspire individuals to envision impactful futures. Her presentations merge foresight with practical wisdom, fostering resilience, innovation, and positive change. Through her visionary perspectives, Kelly illuminates pathways to personal and collective growth, empowering others to embrace their potential in a rapidly evolving world. Driven by a profound understanding of human potential, Kelly guides transformative journeys of self-discovery and empowerment. Her expertise lies in intuitively decoding the connections between mind, body, and spirit, facilitating holistic growth and healing. Through personalized intuitive coaching, she empowers clients to unlock their innate potential, achieve optimal wellness, and find lasting fulfillment. Please help me to welcome Kelly Boyer. Hello and welcome everyone to the Ascension and New World Wealth Summit. I'm Gabrielle Spencer, your host, and with me today we have a very special guest, Kelly Boyer. And Kelly is going to speak to us today about Beyond Healing, Recode Your DNA, Harmonize Timelines, and Embrace Holistic Wellness for a Transformed Life. This is amazing. Thank you, Kelly, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here. So,
I'm excited. This is a whopper of a topic. There's so many
mhm.
ways we could go with this. So I'm really excited to ask you about recoding your DNA. This is such a hot topic for me, especially on my health journey. The whole idea of raising the frequency of our DNA. And also, I do timeline work. And so understanding the role DNA actually plays in the whole timeline thing, which it's not, not a lot of people talk about it. So I can't wait to hear your take on it. And I would love your insight as to how things are working right now and help people to be able to accomplish this.
Oh, I'm so excited that you said you love timelines. That's one of my favorite things to talk about and to play with because I don't think that a lot of people realize that there's so much possibility and opportunity when you start really investigating or inquiring about the timelines that you have. And a lot of, and to me, like DNA sequencing and recoding and timeline work really goes hand in hand because if you want to, honestly, if you want to reach those timelines or alter those timelines or even jump to another timeline, you really have to heal and raise that vibration that's within that coding that's in your DNA sequencing. So, which is to me is just it's so exciting because every time that you go in and you do you do like a DNA activation, a DNA recoding, like every single time you have the opportunity to just level up and just be better and better, become better and better of the person that you are. Or I guess a better way of even saying that is really stepping into the person that you came here to be, which we all came here to be freaking amazing, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
This is
like
all about reclaiming your essence, who you actually really are,
mhm.
expanding your own inner power. I mean, this is like big time. We're finally hitting the big leagues. Like we've all been hinting toward this, but I feel like now we're really at that, shooting out of the cannon stage where it's like it's really available and we're able take all of these various areas and bring them together to make it possible for us to really launch into our own essence of who we are.
Yes. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. And we as like humanity have finally gotten to a point where we really are like we are evolving at a rapid pace where now like I just think it's amazing that that spirit, the universe is giving us these downloads and this information for us to even to even be better, right? But a lot of times, like when I have people come to me, they're like, well, how do I get there? Or, I feel like a lot of like the recoding of the DNA, like finding the timeline, like going through the timelines, doing all of that. Um, I don't know if you get this with like your clients, but usually the clients I get are like, I'm so lost. I don't know what my purpose is. I know that I'm being called to do something really big, but I just can't figure that out. And I think that when we come into it like that, we think that it's supposed to be this monumentous thing, this really difficult thing that we have to do. And then when I look at them and I said, well, it's really simple. You just have to accept and step into your authentic way of being. And still, that may sound a little bit difficult to somebody who doesn't really understand what that is. But when you really dive into examining like people's DNA and their genetic blueprint and really help giving them, honestly, a very simple guideline as to who they are, it's interesting how everything just starts to align, right? And then when you get into that alignment, that's when that's to me is when it gets really fun, because then you can start playing with all the different timelines, right? Because we have so many infinite possibilities that we can choose from. So why not explore them? Why not see what works for you while you're here? Why not? Like I said, I like to play on them. So for me, when I get bored, I kind of like start to go into there and I'm like, ooh, like what timeline can I explore and play on? Or maybe this is the new timeline that I'm supposed to jump onto, but I don't know. To me, it gets so exciting and I get so excited and amped up about it. I'm like, what part of it do you want to talk about and explore?
Okay. So, well, I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Especially because what's really funny is that I was just having this conversation with the conversation I was just having before I came to you, which is I was talking about it in particular, like with women. Let's just leave it to our gender. Okay. So when you say to somebody, aren't you ready to create your best life? And I realized that the glaze happens. Like, I don't even know what that would be or how, what do I throw away I can't give up anything as I've already got all these, kids or husband or whatever, all these things that are, I have to keep going. How do I create that best life? Right. And we were talking about actually how women in general, because we tend to take on as empaths and then codependence because we have that compassionate, empathic nature. And so we're always wanting to help people and we're wanting to, be there for everybody. That actually, how do women even refocus enough attention to even know what they would want, let alone figure out their purpose, let alone then how to get on that timeline to begin with? And so I would love to hear your take on how the DNA, how they would decode it, I guess, in order to help them to embrace more of their own essence and, like step out of this skin that we've taken on, like, where we are holding the energy for the emotional stability of our families, right? Our coworkers and all these other things. So how do we, what's the steps? That's what we need. We need steps to
Right.
people. Like, how do you step out of that for a minute and say, okay, I'm going to go within and I'm going to do the work to heal myself, to truly find, to fine tune the DNA so that I can raise my frequency high enough to be able to access these other timelines. Tell me,
Okay.
what's your take on this?
So I completely hear everything that you're saying, right? Which I like I I'm all about empowering women to step into to who they truly are. I very much am about empowering, just empowerment in general. And then when you watch women really step into that, I like there's something in me that just is like, oh, finally, right? But you're right, we do need a roadmap. It's not easy, especially if you really have never done this work before. So my background, I have a huge background in psychology and human behavior. And the thing that I love about it is that, we as healers, we're always talking about, well, you got to heal this and you got to heal that. And there's a lot of modalities, even spiritual modalities that also parallel with like psychological modalities, right? So we talk about like, let's do some inner child work, or, let's do some parts work, or we talk about all these things that we have. So I guess for me, the secret that I've found that, I'm not saying that this is the only way, because in my mind, there's many ways. That's why we have so many healers. But I realized that I really went down like the psychological path and really started exploring things, because we can't, like, we here in our 3D world, we actually do have these amazing tools that can also be combined with the spiritual healing, right? And every time we do a piece of healing, we're uncoiling pieces of our DNA that have been like, it's kind of like they tightly coil up, because right from like a very young age, from the moment that we're in the womb until we get out, there's all of this conditioning and limiting beliefs and all of this programming. And especially as children, we're being told how we're supposed to be rather than discovering who we're supposed to be, right? So for me, I can speak kind of like the process that I use. I'm a huge proponent and fan of human design. The reason being is that when somebody sits down with me, it's like I can already see the human design that's in front of them. But the cool thing is you get like that one-dimensional thing with the map that you can sit down and point and tell people this is how it works. But when you really dive into that, what you're really diving into is part of that DNA those DNA sequencings that you see, that coding that you see, that blueprint of who they truly are, right? So then on top of that, for me, once we've kind of gone through that and decoded that, and even in learning who you are and how you function in the world, creates so much healing all in itself, right? So then now, in my mind, the other tool that I think is very, very fascinating is also like the Enneagram, right? We talk like there's so many personality tests out there, and I'm not saying that the Enneagram is the end all be all, because there's a lot of really good tools. But truthfully, when we're talking about the Enneagram and we're talking about our personality, we're talking about our ego. And I think that sometimes we kind of get inundated with is that, oh, we have to dissolve the ego, we have to dissolve the ego. But that, to me, that's one of the worst things you could do. Like,
Well, you cannot, it's like me saying, I need to cut off my right arm because it's
right?
annoying me. I mean, you cannot do it in that. God, I
Mm,
remember them. That was such a big thing years ago when people would be like, death to the ego. And you're like, no, you actually have to bring it into alignment, do its own
yes.
healing and bring it into alignment with the rest of your heart, mind, spirit, self. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all a collaborative process. Like, we
Yes.
all, like, if you really think about it, we all came here on this earth. We're all unique in our own ways. But if we were to connect all that uniqueness together, in my mind, like we would just have like we would live in harmony all the time. We would have the perfect world. Like that's what we're designed to do, is to come together and work collaboratively. So even those aspects that we have within ourselves, like we have to learn how to work with them collaboratively. And especially our ego. Our ego to me is like our best friend, right? Because it was originally designed to protect us. It's still there to protect us. But now when we start to step into, I'm going to say, our authentic way of being, of course, like all this, I don't know if I can use this word, but all this crap comes up, right? That we need to heal. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is, right?
Well,
Like
it's trauma for sure. I mean,
exactly.
we hold on to all the hurts, and
Hmm.
they magnify based on new hurts. And so it really
Yes.
brings, we have like just all this weight that we're carrying inside and within our energetic fields. So,
Right.
yeah,
And and I think it's important to note that all that stuff that happens in this lifetime and all the other lifetimes that we lived, we keep
right.
pulling it forward because that energy connects to those memory chains of it. And it's just like we're just repeating this cycle. We're really repeating these patterns of this energy, right?
Right.
So it's so a lot of times when people come to you, they're now really experiencing those pain points, which is that trauma or that stuff that starts to come up. So, and a lot of the reason that's happening is because our ego is bringing it up because it's trying to find a way to protect us. So there's like this miscommunication, right, between who we are and our ego. So that I think that's one of the reasons why I do love using, and I'm going to say some like 3D tools because that's the world we live in.
It
That's
is.
kind of what people relate to. But how great is that to use that tool to move into like the really healing side of spirituality, right? Where you give them an opportunity to show them or like kind of guide them because they've got to do their own healing, guide them in the way of giving them understanding to themselves. And then one of my favorite things to do is to I'll throw in a session where I'm like, we're just going to do some visualization, right? We're going to bring you into alignment. And I want you to watch how much you've healed and watch the uncoiling of your DNA. Whether you're watching it, you're feeling it, or however you experience it, you can feel just their, like, I'm not, really it's all in our heart space, right? Just feel their heart space just start to open up. And just with that opening of their heart space, like they start to step into their own power. And then it's almost like it becomes an addiction, right? Because they're like, I want more of this. Like I really want more of who I am.
Right.
So and then so the other part of that is to kind of go back to my psychology side of this is that it's to me, it's about understanding and building your own resiliency, right? So I also, a lot of times when I work with people, we talk about like, I call it's like the 8 dimensions of wellness. This is just kind of a thing, a very strong thing that's in psychology. But the theory of that is that if you have one dimension that's out of balance, guess what? All the other ones are going to be out of balance.
Right.
So, and I feel like it can help like us living here on earth, like, right? So if we have an imbalance in our financial dimension, right, it means that we're going to have an imbalance not only in our emotional, our spiritual, our occupational. It's like through the entire wheel.
Yeah.
So we've got to really understand ourselves, like, how is it, like, what is our belief about money? Where is that belief connected to? That could be something within our childhood, right? So then it gives you an opportunity to really start doing that deep rooted healing to see where in your subconscious it's been buried. And then one of the other things that I really enjoy doing or that I do have a knack for, is really seeing patterns. And then I have the ability to see patterns within the future, which is also what I use to help kind of do timeline adjustments. But what are the patterns? What are these subroutines, these unhealthy subroutines that we got ourselves in that aren't helping us? And so it really creates a lot of room to really do that healing. And then again, I'm going to go back to every time we do that healing, every time there's that awareness, we're either activating or recoding our DNA. Like that's really what it's about. We're healing those pieces that, that may not be like the sparks may not be firing.
Right.
So it really does, all of this stuff really does go hand in my mind, it goes hand in hand. So you can't have one without the other. Like you can't go in and be like, I'm going to focus on this part of my DNA, but I'm not going to heal this trauma that I had when I was 2 years old. So it's got to be in all of that. And I can't, and then to go back to the dimensions of wellness, like I can't go and heal some of the emotional stuff that I have going on and then ignore my spiritual side or ignore my financial side or my relationships. It's got to be all in combination. So that was a lot. I hope.
No, I mean, so in the end, though, I mean, we're talking about decoding the DNA as to where it is that you are basically stuck or what's not turned on or what is turned on that needs to be turned off. Because that happens too. People don't
Yes.
think of it that way. They always think about activating their DNA, but sometimes we have to turn some off.
Yes.
Traits that we could do better without.
Right.
And things that don't function correctly. Anyway, so then in doing this work, you're turning on and off the DNA by healing the traumas. Is that correct?
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then when you say you're tweaking timelines, tell me about that.
Okay. So once you start going in and you start healing or, turning on and off that DNA, right? It could very well be that the timeline that you're on, let's say we go in and we do this DNA work and we do that healing of that trauma. You know what? Like every time you heal, I always call it leveling up, which means you're raising that vibration, right? It could very well mean that this current timeline that you're on, all the old things that you used to do or that you use, whatever that is, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever is on that timeline, when you start to raise your vibration, it doesn't mean that timeline is meant for you anymore. But what happens is that until you understand that how truthfully all the complexities that we have, right? That we have infinite amount of timelines that we can step on, that it's okay to collapse that timeline because now it's time to go on to the next timeline that's going to take us through, those trials and tribulations that we all agreed to do, right? To help us expand and evolve. So, I mean, there's sometimes, I'm not saying that we abandon, like just because we leveled up a little bit, that we abandon the timeline that we're on, but it could very well be that maybe it's a matter of healing a pattern or tweaking a pattern that we've been so conditioned to just keep replaying. And then, it might even be possible that we're able to raise the vibration of that timeline. So it sounds very complicated, but I feel like especially with women, because there's so many of us, like you said, like we want to come out of this shell or this skin that of all these things that we are told define us. And I feel like once you kind of give a lot of women the glimpse of that opportunity to really step into who they're supposed to be. I don't know about you, but when I was going through it and I saw that little glimmer of opportunity, I took it and ran with it because I didn't want to be what everybody else defined me to be. Like whether that's my family, my friends, society in general, I just wanted to be who I came here to be. And the more we step into that and the more that we own that and the more that we become that, the more good that we can do in the world with humanity and the collective all in itself. And I don't think either, until people really understand it, is that even when we do our own work on ourselves, we're making a huge difference in the collective and with humanity. Like everything that we do has a ripple effect. Mm-hmm. So when you heal, what you may not know is with your healing, you may be healing somebody else that you've never even met, but now they have this, they're having that same energy, that they're on that same energy or that frequency that can benefit for whatever it is that you're doing. So we're so interconnected in so many ways. Like
Yes.
it's just so beautiful. Like there really truly is not separation. We truly are just one. And if I like, and like I said, when I think that when we finally get people that are into their own healing, and then I'm going to say, and like moving from one timeline to the other, and leveling up to that next timeline, it's amazing how like people don't even realize that, and I'm going to use this as kind of an example, like smiling to a stranger that's on the street that may have been having a really bad day has now given them that high vibrational frequency to maybe overcome whatever it is that they did. And then once they overcome it, guess what? They're going to share that frequency with someone else. Like it's just a really it's just a beautiful thing that we have.
I agree. I mean, at what I always think about this old movie when we talk about timelines. It's with Gwyneth Paltrow when she was just beginning, called Sliding Doors. It's an old movie. But it's so interesting because I think when people think about timelines, I wonder how they're envisioning what that is. Okay.
Right.
So every choice we make, when you make a left turn or a right turn, it changes your potentials. It
Yes.
changes the possibilities of, who's going to cross your path, what opportunities are going to come, what reset's going to happen. There's a lot of different things. So we're always influencing our potentiality of a timeline. And when we heal and unburden ourselves, really, we actually do change not just ourselves, but the entire ripple is what you're talking about, that butterfly effect, the ripple that then affects your family and all the people that you're connected with, especially in your near vicinity. And then, of course, the ripple out on that greater scale as well as in the quantum.
Yes.
So when we do that, it does open the doors for even greater possibilities for you, regardless. And as long as you keep from reattaching or bringing back in the pattern or the trauma that you just released, the longer you're on that other trajectory. So that's where people feel unstable. So like when they've done this work, but then they don't hold that frequency and then they slide back into the old pattern. So that's a really crucial spot for people to pay attention, because if you start to train yourself to think that every decision, like whether I decide to get up at 7 in the morning or 7:15, is going to change my experience of my morning.
Yes.
And then that, is going to set up your day or not set up your day, or who knows? I mean, it's something as simple as that. And that's what I think, that when we all talk about timelines, people are thinking, like when we say, jump a timeline or change a timeline or whatever, part of it is the new pattern that you're creating. Like, have I decided that I'm not going to get up at 7:30 anymore because it doesn't give me enough time to do my 20 minutes in the sun and my 15 minutes of meditation. So I actually need to start getting up, and I have to create a new pattern to support that new timeline. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I'm like you, like honestly, you couldn't have said it any better. Like we do, like in all honesty, like every word that we speak, every action that we take, every thought that we have gives us it can present the opportunity of doing a shift on our timeline. And it really is about those patterns, right? So when we're stuck, I always call the patterns that we're stuck in that just keep repeating as like a subroutine pattern. So we are, when we come in, we're set on like, I'm going to call it like the main pattern, right? It's like we're coming in, this is who we are, we're going to be on this pattern. And then like growing up in my house, the subroutine pattern that I fell into was that children are supposed to be seen, not heard. So guess what? So as soon as I went from my main pattern of really being like a sensitive child, really being fully like I was a very emotional child, to being told all the time that no, you need to be quiet, stop being like that, you need to be seen, not heard. Now, right? Now I've moved into this now another pattern because your main pattern doesn't go away, but now I'm into this new subroutine pattern of like, and I'm just going to call them unhealthy behaviors, right? Because now when it's time for me to get emotional, I hold it all in. Or like for me, like in all honesty, it wasn't until about a year ago that I really embraced the emotion of anger. And everybody thinks anger is such an like, oh my gosh, she's angry, it's such a negative vibration or a negative frequency or an emotion. It really isn't. It's healthy to be angry. It's okay, obviously, if you direct it in the right direction. But like so for me, I wasn't allowed to be angry when I was little, so that anger then turned into frustration, but I never really was able to get it out. So here I am stuck in this subroutine of constantly being frustrated, not being able to use my voice or being seen or heard, right? So now I'm more frustrated. It was just like I was just living in this life of frustration all the time. Until finally I was able to go back to that moment in time of when it was created. And I did a lot of inner child healing, because I was like, wait a minute, this child, I need to support and encourage and honor who she is, to allow her and give her the permission to be angry and know that she's in a safe space. So once I was like, honestly, once I was able to release that, so that, and so this is moving into timelines, right? Once I was able to heal that, I was able to move on to a timeline where now, like I felt like it was literally like I stepped into feeling safer about who I authentically was, not worrying about expressing that, that I'm an intuitive or that I'm gifted in the world. You know what I mean? It's just,
I do.
and it's just
because you no longer have to support that other heavy vibration.
right.
Yes, you get to then move on. It's not as if it never happened, but it actually doesn't affect you anymore. I mean, the triggers
Right.
are gone and you're actually in a higher emotional place. I totally get it.
And one of the things I did is, I went back and I did that inner child healing. And then, like the other thing is like, you can rewrite that timeline. And what do we mean by rewriting it? It doesn't mean that we're rewriting it and what happened never happened. When we talk about rewriting in a quantum or energetic way, all we're doing is just changing the frequencies of that experience of what happened. So that when I go out in the world and let's say I have another experience that could potentially match that frequency of going back into that frustration and falling back into that child of not being seen, heard, or expressing my true emotions. If I go into that timeline and I raise those vibrations and those frequencies, guess what? Even if I go into an experience that may have similar frequencies, I'm not going to connect back into that memory chain of what happened.
Right. Because it's collapsed.
Right. And now there's a sense of freedom and liberation in that, knowing that you can, that we all can do that,
because you're no longer triggered, which
right.
being triggered later only creates more triggers.
Yeah. Yes. It's so true.
I mean, it just compounds the problems
Right.
and brings in new ones and more layers of crap. Okay. So
yes.
with that, we're gonna leave that there because this is jam-packed with really critical information for people to begin to understand the layering and how all the parts play together. It's almost like dominoes. When this one goes down, then the next one goes down, but otherwise they're all just standing and they're all in play. That's the thing about doing emotional healing work is that once you start, yes, I agree, it's addictive because you feel more free. And in the end, I was just saying, it's like the more that I have freed myself, the more I realize, well, I'm not yet free, but that I want to be free. It's so interesting. It's like once you start taking off these layers and the chains and things that have kept you bound to, family, friends, loved ones, work, and all those things, you start to really dig in and discover the bigger who inside of you. Who am I? You realize, okay, I know what I want. And actually, this has been like my big metamorphosis. Like, I know what I want, and I'm going to give myself a year to create it. And I'm going to dedicate myself to creating it. And so I agree with you that this process is freeing in so many ways because we don't really know. I don't think men know either, but I can only talk for me because I'm a chick. And so all I can say is I have done a lot of things in my life being told by others that would be what would bring me fulfillment. And now determining for myself, fulfillment for me is not about my gorgeous home, my fantastic XT5 I love. I mean, all these things I have, I have a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's in here. What I want is actually to be free, to be me and to excel as me. I mean, it's really very simple as you started this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it really truly is. I think once you have figured it out, that's when the realization of like, oh my gosh, this is so simple. Like I really can. And part of the simplicity of it is just being aware of it. So, and like I always tell people, because I don't know about you, but sometimes like when they come to me and they're like, well, I already did healing. And I'm like, well, you're not done. Like you're forever. And as long as you are walking this planet, you're going to forever be doing healing. But here's the beautiful thing about it is that when you start your healing journey, it's so hard, right? It's so hard. Sometimes it can feel very painful. But then once you start getting a taste of what that freedom is, start getting a taste of how good that high vibration feels. What people don't realize is that when, like, I don't know about you, but like now when something comes up, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad this came into my awareness. Like I have an opportunity to like get it, like, to be even better.
And everybody's looking at us, so it's like we are crazy. But yes, I totally know because I share openly with everybody. I'm like, okay, so I've had a very interesting year, less than a year. So I divorced my husband in 22 years. And then after that, about 2.5 months later, I found out I had breast cancer. And so I'm working through healing breast cancer. And everybody's looking at me and they're like, and I go, yes, but here's what's so interesting. So I had almost beaten it. I had gotten down to like the last nodule. And then it exploded and started a whole new round. Anyway, but it's created so many opportunities for me. And I was saying way back in the beginning, I was like, I was so grateful, like, wow, I'm so grateful that it happened now versus, before I just, went through with the divorce, because now that's behind me and now I can just focus on me and my health and my own healing journey. And then when it resurged, I was like, what's amazing is that caused me to go see a naturopath, not near me, but anyway. And she found that actually the reason that I kept putting on weight all of these years, and no matter what I tried, gluten-free, sugar-free, blah, 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 that I could never lose more than 5 pounds, was because my liver and pancreas were not processing toxins. And so my body was creating fat to absorb all the toxins. And that was why I kept putting on more and more weight. And so once she started, like, because she was, it's basically exactly what we are talking about. I went in with cancer. However, that was not what we looked for to treat the cancer. She went and said, what's going wrong with your body? That cancer is the symptom, the result of something that's not right. And this is just what we are talking about with the DNA, the timeline, all of these things, the emotional healing work. There are root issues that actually have created the circumstance in which you are now experiencing and living through. And so in her addressing then the liver and the pancreas and the toxicity of my body, if I were to show you a picture of me just 2 months ago, you'd be floored. My daughter actually brought me the pictures yesterday. She goes, Mom, look at this picture. This was you on June 1st at her graduation. I was huge. And she's like, and here you are this week. And it's like, everything has changed. My whole face has changed, everything. And you're like, back to the support here of why we go to the root. What is the root emotion? What is the root issue? Because that is going to be like, now I tell people, I'm like, okay, it's the weirdest thing. Like always in healing, we're like, okay, we're going to do weight loss or turn off the DNA for weight loss or whatever. But actually that wasn't my problem, right? Obviously, but people want everything to dissolve immediately.
Yes.
Now, I will tell you, the weight is dissolving. Like I tell people, I'm like, I mean, you can't believe it, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Every day, from start to finish, I am working on my health all day long. I, have very specific things. I am eating maybe 1,000 calories, but everything that goes into my body is nutrient dense. So I have no craving, no hunger, nothing. And all I'm doing is to detox my body. I'm doing a gazillion things. So everything that's happening, yes, you see me on this side is dissolving. However, I know that it is daily work. I wake up at 3 in the morning to take an extra set of pills to help the detox process so that around the clock, my body is getting support to detox. And this is what we are talking about with emotional healing and all this work. It's like, it will happen, it will dissolve, but you must be dedicated.
Yes. And I love, and the key word in all of that is daily. Like you have to be committed daily. It can't be, you know what, today I'm going to do a really good job. Tomorrow, maybe I'll do a little bit, but now I'm going on this vacation, so I'm going to ignore all of it. And then when it starts to, honestly, to give me those pain points again, then I'll focus on it again. Like it has to be a daily dedication.
Yes.
And that may to some, when they're just starting out, seem so taxing. But again, it goes back to the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Absolutely.
Almost to the point where the only thing that you're thinking about, like, if I think you just mentioned that, you take two extra supplements, right?
I take detox supplements in the middle of the night because you can only take, it's amazing, but like everything has its slot. Like you can't take this supplement with this supplement. This is a supplement. This is a detox supplement. Totally. I mean, so you can't mix things up. So yes, you have to keep them certain amount of hours apart. And so, yes, I get up every night at 3 in the morning to take that set that has to be taken with nothing in my system. So,
and I'm going to guess, I mean, this is probably how I would be. When you first started out, it was probably like, oh God, like it was probably really difficult. Now, now it could be to the point where you get up and it's in your awareness, you go, you take it, and then that's it. You know what I mean? So it's
Yes,
just,
it's no big deal.
yeah, like this is what I do. So
Create
that's,
a pattern. It's just
yeah,
you create a whole new pattern of eating and how you're interacting with your own world. And actually, I've gained a lot of time because I don't have to make a lot of food, which is fantastic.
right. And I'm so glad you said that, because then it benefits the other areas of your life, right?
Yes.
So, to kind of bring it back to those 8 dimensions of wellness, a lot of times when I sit down and I tell people, like, we're going to go through all of this, and they're like, oh, like all of that. And I said, but we don't know is that when you heal one thing, when we get to that other thing, I said, it may be that we spend 5 minutes on it because you did
Right.
all this other healing
Right.
that now has healed up whatever this is. And then there's just this one little pattern or belief or program that we just need to move through. So it's just, to me, like, I can talk about this stuff all day. It's just so mind-blowing and amazing to me that but we all have the ability to do this.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's available. And we're able to move so much faster now than we ever were before. And
Yes.
this is the exciting part about where we are in the timeline for the planet right now, is that we're being given the go button and it's time to move it and get our lives in order and our own inner self in alignment, I think.
Yes.
All right, my love, tell me about your free gift, the Holistic Fusion Healing session. Is that your free gift for the summit?
Yes.
All right.
So I'm going to tell you, it's everything that we just talked about today. So, and I want people to understand that, there's no, in my mind, there's no such thing as being hopeless. There's no, like, or the worst thing is, like, when they come to me and they're like, I'm just so broken. I'm like, you're not broken. Like, what you're experiencing is opportunity to be even better. There's no such
Yes.
thing as being broken. We're just peeling away the layers, the years and years of layers of beliefs and programs that are on top. But truthfully, the holistic fusion healing is about everything that we talked about today, and really embracing who you are through your own healing. But most importantly, I'll tell you, my goal when doing this program or when working with people is I just want to hold that space for you to discover that you can do it. And even so, a lot of people, they come to you, and you had mentioned this, they have that fear because they start to get stuck between that in between. For me, yeah, a fear is scary. The best way to counteract fear is go head first into it. But usually the indication of fear is that the universe is taking whatever it is that was so chaotic, all those frequencies, and that's really what you're feeling. You're feeling the chaos of the frequencies starting to come into alignment. And it really is a good thing, because to me, if you're not feeling that, then it's kind of like you're not working with the universe or with spirit, right? So that when somebody comes in and they're like, I feel so chaotic inside, I'm like, yes, we're finally at that point where now it opens the door for us to really work with all of the tools that we have before us, and to be able to line up that exact frequency that you need to just take off and fly, right?
Yes.
So I that may have gone off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's really what I want the end result to be. Like, I want people to take that feeling of chaos or fear or whatever that is. And I want them to learn how to work with it in their favor rather than fear it and resist it. And then it just keeps building up, because it's in that, I hate to say, it's in that chaotic energy where a lot of healing and undoing and closing off DNA, opening DNA, activating DNA, where all of that really does take place. So when when I get in that state, it doesn't feel good, but then and then of course, like, the fear creeps up and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to also change my perspective to this fear and say, oh, this is excitement. This is an opportunity for growth. This is an opportunity for me to expand, to raise my vibration. And for me, I am always thinking in the future. Like I said, I see so many potentials in the future, and I'm like, wow, how is this going to help our society? How is this going to help humanity? How is this going to help the collective all together for us to just keep up leveling? Because every time we up level, like you said, we're in a space where we're starting to move faster. Well, we created that speed of speeding up because we're choosing, and we're choosing ourselves over anything else. And that's not a selfish thing, because when you heal yourself, you truly are healing the planet and everyone that's in it.
Yes, my new motto this year is love yourself first.
Yes.
So there we are. And we will end it there. Thank you, Kelly, so much for offering your great insights and how people can go about following a path to their freedom and health and well-being on all of the 8-dimensional levels. I think that's a great service to everyone, because this is where we are and it's what we're about to be doing, and all of us are doing it. So join us, because it's way more fun on this side anyway.
Yeah, yes, it is. It truly is.
It really is. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today. Please send us in your comments and how you feel inspired and what it is you're going to do to help your own inner knowing, loving self. Okay? Yes. Everybody, namaste. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.